Hey, it's Kim, and you're listening to a How in the Hell Did I Get Here short, which are individual stories we've pulled from the archives of How in the Hell Did I Get Here. As of August 6th, 2020, How in the Hell Did I Get Here is on hiatus, and I'm going to do my best to keep sharing these shorts with you for as long as it makes sense. And I want to say a huge thank you to you for listening and supporting the show. If you can please leave us a review or support us as a patron at buymeacoffee.com/The Coloring Book Coach, that would be amazing. Because knowing that you're listening and enjoying what we're creating really does make a difference. Enjoy today's story here. And if you miss me and How in the Hell Did I Get Here, you can subscribe to my other podcast called Fall in Love with Yourself Toolkit, where I give advice and insight for each month and each week of that month. You might even hear a few of the sisters over there from time to time. This is Kim A. Floden, and you're listening to How in the Hell Did I Get Here shorts, and this podcast most definitely does include swear words. It's not just one short today, it's a bonus episode because you're getting two stories for the price of one short. Listen in as Jenny and I trade some dog stories that are just hilarious. And if you have any good dog stories that you want to share, call us on the hotline, 323-488-3303. We'd love to hear from you. And now here's our stories.
Do you remember Fritz, my super, super sweet little Sheltie that I had when our kids were really little? Like, I got him before I had kids.
Yes.
You probably remember him.
Yeah, he was a
such
sweetheart.
a good dog. But I got him when he was, I think, a year old. And then Scott was born about a year after that. So we had Scott's nursery set up with everything you imagine in the nursery. And if Scott was sleeping in there, Fritz was in there sleeping under the crib. You know, he was just a good dog. He was to stay with the kids. And I went in there to check on Scott while he was napping one day. And Fritz is, not only is he in there, as I'm walking in, he's like chewing on something, eating something. And I'm like, oh God, no, did he get a diaper? You know, thinking the worst.
Right.
And I actually wish it would have been a diaper because that would have been much easier to deal with. What he had done was we had a jar of Vaseline on the diaper changing table on the one of the bottom shelves, and he had found that, got the lid off, and he was eating it. A big, a family-sized tub of Vaseline, and he had it mostly eaten by the time I discovered this. And he was just a greasy mess. Shelties have that collie fur. A lot of fur. And his whole face, his whole ruff around his face, like the mane, just
I bet he was
gross. Just greasy.
And how do you get that off?
Well, that's where the story becomes a long story. So
oh my God.
My first concern was, oh my God, this can't be good. So I think I tried to call a vet. There's no vets open. This was an evening. I called the poison control line because I couldn't think of who else to call. And they said, we actually do, we get a lot of poison control calls for animals too. Well, you yourself had one, Kim, didn't you?
Right, exactly.
So, and they said Vaseline is very, it's not going to hurt him. It's just going to, he'll pass it through. It will not hurt him at all. So I was like, okay, great.
Right.
So then I commenced to try to wash it. So I put him in the tub. I'm washing him off, get him out of the tub. And he is only slightly less greasy than he was before the bath. And I'm like, oh my God. So I give him another bath. This time I'm using Dawn dishwashing soap. That's through grease, right? So same thing. I'm scrubbing him. I'm doing everything I can. And it took about, seems like 3 or 4 baths with kitchen dishwashing
Oh my
soap
God. His skin must have
get
been
him
raw.
Well, I wasn't scrubbing his skin. I was just trying to get it out of his fur. And I finally got him to where he was pretty cleaned up. So got him dried off and everything. So I think the ordeal is over at this point, right? No.
No, because I know what's going to happen
So the next day, he goes outside and, it's passing through him. And it was his whole back end now is all greasy. He's just poopy and greasy, like greasy poop. And it's, again, a lot of fur back there. His whole tail. I think it was probably, loose stool, shall we say. And it must
Yeah, like probably like rocket
yeah, I
poop.
think, it must have splattered quite a bit. Sorry, that's disgusting, but that's what it was. So we commenced to do the same thing with non-dishwashing liquid now all across his back end. And we get, again,
Ugh.
number of times, but finally he's clean. And then the next day he's still pooping it out. So we keep going through this like every
Right?
day. It just went on and on. Where like Fritz is greasy again.
Ugh.
And finally we get through to where it's complete. It's through his system and he's clean and he's fine. And Scott was a baby. Scott was born in October. So this was, I'm guessing, like say it was January. So, becomes a kind of a funny anecdote until spring when all that shit thaws out in the yard.
I was
And he
gonna
eats
say.
it again in the yard.
No,
So the whole cycle repeats itself. It was like the never ending.
Katuna Matata, or whatever the fuck to say.
Yeah, right. No.
The circle of life.
Vaseline.
the circle of the
God,
poop
yeah, it was
life.
the never ending.
Makuna Katata.
Just shut up. You don't know what you're talking about anymore. I'll tell you what it became known as in my mind. It was the story of the never-ending jar of Vaseline, because that Vaseline was with us for a long, long time.
Oh, God. That is hilarious. Well, that reminds me of a story. Now, I know that dogs can eat Vaseline because one time, this is a Bentley the Beagle story. Oh, God, that dog had like 20 lives. Anyway, we had taken him up north with us, and that is the time when I was, at this point in my life, I was a step parent. So I had a step parent to 2 little boys. So we had taken the kids up to the North Shore, and we had picked up a bunch of rocks, I love rocks. And they picked up a bunch of rocks, but they were little. So they picked up a bunch of little rocks. Like they were like basically pebbles and stuff. So they had them in a bread bag, or a used bread bag, I think is what it was. Well, I don't know. We were unpacking. We get home. I come downstairs, and there's that bread bag, and there are like a few rocks, but not very many.
Oh, no.
And there's a hole in the bread bag, and I'm like, holy shit, he ate the rocks to get at the breadcrumbs, Because he's a beagle. They do shit like that. They are like the goat of dogs. So I'm like, oh, God. So I think this time I called the vet. And the vet was like, okay, yeah, well, you're going to want to move those through. So I'm like, how do I do that? And they said, make him eat Vaseline. And I was like, oh, gross. But I'm like, okay. So, of course, the dog would eat freaking anything, obviously. Yeah. I couldn't get him to eat the Vaseline. He wasn't interested. Of course. So I had to put it on something, I had to make it some gourmet Vaseline meal.
I would say I know for a fact from other stories that dog really liked bread. So just use it like butter. Put it on the bread.
Yeah, and so I jammed that dog full of Vaseline, right? Days go by, and I'm having a similar experience to what you will live through, where it's like, it's coming out, but I'm seeing no rocks. Plus, I'm having to go out there and witness. Right. I'm expecting like a rat-a-tat-tat type thing for how many rocks are missing. So anyway, after a few days, like the kids have gone home, they don't know any of this that's going on. So like after a few days, they come back, and I'm like, you guys, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I think Bentley ate your rocks, and I'm still waiting for him to come back out. And meanwhile, poor Bentley is like on this Vaseline diet. I'm like, they've got to be in there. No, the kids took the ones they wanted home, and I didn't know that. So poor Bentley was having, he was Vaseline sandwiches every day, and me having to go out there and like look through this shit every day for the rocks for my stepkids, because I'm like, oh God, now I lost a rock.
Oh my gosh.
So that's also, there's another one where me and the kids, like, they wanted to do this. I think they were about the same. It was about the same time period. They were little. They wanted to give him a bath, and I'm like, okay, we can give him a bath. He didn't need baths that often, short-haired dog, but we gave him a bath, and he was like, he went along with it. He let us do it. We get outside. We're all like, it was kind of an ordeal, 2 little kids and one person trying to give a beagle a bath, but we got it done. we get outside and we're relaxing, and Bentley's running around the front yard, and he like starts rolling all over in the front yard. And they're like, oh, he must be like, trying to get that smell off him. Oh, no. Yeah, he was trying to get the smell off him because he was rolling in like something dead.
That's their favorite fragrance. Been there many times.
And then, of course, he comes bounding up to us, and we're all like, oh, what the hell?
Oh, God, I know that's rough.
Yeah, we're like, let's start over with this. Oh, my God.
Yeah, and then in the meantime, you have to find that dead thing and remove it from your property.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because they can find a dead thing at like 400,000
especially
places.
A beagle. Yeah. You told me a story about him when you guys had the carpenter over. Did you already tell me that?
No, I have not. Last house I lived in Minneapolis, we had a lot of work done on that house. And so when Bentley was about 10 and a half, he went blind. So he was blind, but he's got along okay. I mean, we worked with it. But I think when they say one sense goes, the others kick into high gear. Well, his nose was already in high fucking gear. Now it went to like uber high fucking gear. And so we were having a contractor at the house, and we had put Bentley in the kitchen, like blocked in with his crate. But he was free to roam, but he had to stay. He was in the kitchen because they were coming in and out, and the door was right there. So I get a call from the contractor, and I'm like, "Oh, this is odd," because I don't really know what to tell the contractor about anything. But so he's like, "Yeah, ma'am, I just am calling to let you know that your dog is on the kitchen counter." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, yeah, we think he pushed his crate over there and jumped up on his crate and then jumped up on the counter, and he ate a loaf of bread. What do you want us to do? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, well, first of all, if he could have gotten to the refrigerator and gotten it open, he would have had a freaking sandwich. Because, I mean, he was resourceful, that dog, even blind. So I'm like, yeah, take him off the counter. But oh my God, yeah, he was on the counter.
Yep.
He ate a loaf of bread. I came home one time. Well, he drank that whole beer that time. Another time, he drank like a 6-pack of non-alcoholic beer. And he was blind. Why would he even go for this? It was on a bench in his area. It was on a bench. Somehow he got it down, punctured all the cans, and sucked it down. And I'm like, what about that made you think you should? I mean, could he smell the beer, the non-alcoholic beer?
You see them being attracted to an open beer because you can smell it, and it's yeasty and yummy. But a can of
that dog was like MacGyver, totally. Yeah, he was a crazy dog. He kept us on our toes for sure. I mean, really, I love that dog, but when he died, I was like, oh my God, I felt like I relaxed for the first time in 13 and a half years. It was like having a crazy infant in your house, toddler. Like a crazy toddler. Yeah. I mean, he tried to he did electrocute himself one time. And then, literally like chomped on a cord, plugged in cord. And it was like, then off to the vet. Yeah. Then like 2 months later, he ate taro ant poison.
I can imagine that.
And then about 2 months after that, he ran away from home. And I'm like, obviously the dog's trying to kill himself. He does not want to be with us.
Just let it go.
Yeah. So that was my thought. But then we found him like 2 blocks away at somebody else's back door that looked just like ours, scratching at it like, what the hell? Let me in.
You'd think he would know, speaking of scent, you'd think he would know he was at home or not.
Right. But, the taro and the shocking, who knows what he'd been through at this point. He was trying to get away from us, Jenny. He probably knew he was at somebody else's house.
Just please let me in. Please don't tell anybody I'm here. Just let me in.
Oh, and he did dodge across like traffic on Xerxes, which is a bus route. Yep. Yeah, I remember me and the neighbor lady just screaming at each other across the street, like, no! And the dog's like doing like Frogger across the street.
That's exactly what I pictured.
It was a 4-lane road with buses. Yep. Yeah, he was. You could not relax.
It's remarkable he lived as long as he did then.
And it's remarkable I lived as long as I did with him because, seriously, he probably took years off my life. He was a good dog, but he was crazy. He was crazy.
This family is attracted to crazy pets.
Thanks again for all your support and for being a listener. We hope you enjoyed this How in the Hell Did I Get Here short. And again, if you can leave us a review and share the show with your friends, we appreciate it. Our music is produced by Silent Partner, and the song name is Seventh Floor Tango. We found them on YouTube's Creator Library, and you can find their links on our website, howinthehellpodcast.com. How in the Hell Shorts is a production of The Coloring Book Coach and is written, produced, and hosted by myself, Kim A. Floden, with editing direction from Carrie Floden.